Spur-cell anemia. Definition: Spur-cell or acanthosis are large erythrocyte coverts with spot-like projection that vary in width, length, and distribution. Spur cells can be incurred in acquired or inherited disorders. Video 1.
In the previous video, we have discussed echinocytes or Burr cells. Today we'll talk about acanthocytes or Spur cells, an abnormally shaped red blood cell. Where did the word come from? From an ancient Greek word called acantha, meaning thorn, like these thorns. Cyte means cell. So, acanthocytes or Spur cells, they are red blood cells with spiked membranes, abnormal membranes. They have coarse, variable sized projections at variable distance from each others. Okay? If you remember the previous video, echinocytes, these projections were smaller, more numerous, and they were at equal distance. But here, acanthocytes, variable distance, coarse, and variable size. Okay, when do we see acanthocytes in the blood? Please don't forget A-beta lipoproteinemia, which is a rare autosomal recessive disorder, deficiency in apolipoprotein B48 and B100. There's a problem with chylomicrons and VLDL. Okay, what else? Liver disease, McLeod syndrome, chorea acanthosis, neuroacanthosis. They're very rare diseases, but please, if there's anything that you can learn from here, A-beta lipoproteinemia, they have acanthocytosis. Is the pathogenesis of these cells alteration in membrane lipid or membrane protein of the red blood cell? Sometimes in cases of severe liver disease, these acanthocytes will go to the spleen. The spleen will try to make them more round, more circular, and this is called spheroacanthocytosis. Hey, thank you for watching this lecture. Don't forget to subscribe. We have talked about one of the spiculated cells named
Application in nursing. Spur cells acquire spiny projection on their surface as a result of altered lipid metabolism and an excess of cholesterol in patients with cirrhosis. These changes make the erythrocyte inflexible and prone to hemolysis. Acanthocytes are often confused with echinocytes or Burr cells, which have more regularly spaced spicules. Spur-cell anemia is associated with a poor prognosis and is definitively treated by liver transplantation. However, this patient was not considered to be a candidate for liver transplantation because of his ongoing use of alcohol. Video 2.
What are acanthocytes? Acanthocytes in human biology and medicine refers to a form of red blood cells that have a spiked cell membrane, and this is due to the abnormal thorny projections. These cells are also referred to as Spur cells. What does the word acantho mean? The word acantho means spiny. Name some conditions in which you would see acanthocytes. You would see acanthocytes in conditions such as liver disease, as well as in A-beta lipoproteinemia, which is a state of cholesterol dysregulation. What is basophilic stippling? Basophilic stippling refers to an observation found when observing a blood smear in which erythrocytes display small dots at the periphery. Name some conditions in which you would see basophilic stippling of the RBCs. You would see basophilic stippling of the RBCs in conditions such as thalassemia, anemia of chronic disease, and lead poisoning. What is the mnemonic to help you remember that basophilic stippling is linked to these conditions? The mnemonic is base the ox tail, and tail stands for thalassemia, anemia of chronic disease, and lead poisoning.
Welcome to
Video 3.
USMLEFasttrack.com. The section we're going to talk about.
Page 350. What are acanthocytes? Acanthocytes in human biology and medicine refers to a form of red blood cells that have a spike cell membrane, and this is due to the abnormal thorny projections. These cells are also referred to as spur cells. What does the word acantho mean? The word acantho means spiny. Name some conditions in which you would see acanthocytes. You would see acanthocytes in conditions such as liver disease, as well as an A-beta lipoproteinemia, which is a state of cholesterol dysregulation. What is basophilic stippling? Basophilic stippling refers to an observation found when observing a blood smear in which erythrocytes display small dots at the periphery. Name some conditions in which you would see basophilic stippling of the RBCs. You would see basophilic stippling of the RBCs in conditions such as thalassemia, anemia of chronic disease, and lead poisoning. What is the mnemonic to help you remember that basophilic stippling is linked with these conditions? The mnemonic is base the ox tail, and tail stands for thalassemia, anemia of chronic disease, and lead poisoning.
For more information on this topic, click on the link in the description section below. For a full USMLE Step 1 review, be sure to check us out at USMLEFasttrack.com, where we help you review the entire first aid for the USMLE Step 1 with high-quality videos and hundreds of detailed pictures for a better understanding of the material. So to learn from the best USMLE review book, be sure to check us out at USMLEFasttrack.com.
Pros and cons. Spur anemia is an uncommon type of hemolytic anemia that occurs in patients with advanced liver failure. The mechanism responsible for formation of acanthocytes is unknown, but it has been attributed to change in the composition of lipids of the red cell membrane, with increased cholesterol content, which alters the shape of the cell and makes them more susceptible to trapping and destruction by the spleen. The diagnosis of Spur-cell anemia should be suspected in patients with severe liver failure and hemolytic anemia and is confirmed by the morphological appearance of red blood cells in the peripheral blood smear. The prognosis is very poor and there is no effective therapy. Spur-cell anemia resolves after liver transplantation. Because of this and the presence of advanced liver failure is in most patients, liver transplantation should be considered the treatment of choice in select candidates. Video 4.
Sickle cell disease, also called sickle cell anemia, or just sickle cell, is a genetic disease where red blood cells can take the shape of a crescent, or sickle, and that change allows them to be more easily destroyed, causing anemia, among other things. Sickle cell disease is caused by defective hemoglobin, which is the oxygen-carrying protein in red blood cells. Hemoglobin is actually made up of 4 peptide chains, each bound to a heme group. Different hemoglobins have different combinations of these chains. Hemoglobin A, or HbA, made up of 2 alpha-globin and 2 beta-globin peptide chains, is the primary hemoglobin affected in sickle cell. Specifically, the beta-globin chains end up misshapen. This is because of a mutation in the beta-globin gene, or HBB gene. Sickle cell is an autosomal recessive disease, so a mutation in both copies of the beta-globin gene is needed to get the disease. If the person has just one copy of the mutation in one normal HBV gene, then they're a sickle cell carrier, also called sickle trait. Having sickle trait doesn't cause health problems unless the person's exposed to extreme conditions like high altitude or dehydration, where some sickle cell disease-like symptoms can crop up. What it does do is decrease the severity of infection by Plasmodium falciparum malaria. So in parts of the world with a high malaria burden, like Africa and pockets of southern Asia, those with sickle trait actually have an evolutionary advantage. This phenomenon is called heterozygote advantage, and its unfortunate consequence is a high rate of sickle cell disease in people from those parts of the world. Almost always, the sickle cell mutation is a non-conservative missense mutation that results in the sixth amino acid of beta-globin being valine instead of glutamic acid. A non-conservative substitution means that the new amino acid, valine, which is hydrophobic, has different properties than the one it replaced, glutamic acid, which is hydrophilic. A hemoglobin tetramer with 2 alpha-globin and 2 mutated beta-globin proteins is called sickle hemoglobin, or HbS. HbS carries oxygen perfectly well, but when it's deoxygenated, HbS changes its shape, which allows it to aggregate with other HbS proteins and form long polymers that distort the red blood cell into a crescent shape, a process called sickling. Conditions favorable for sickling include acidosis, which decreases hemoglobin's affinity for oxygen, and small, low-flow vessels where red blood cells' hemoglobin molecules have plenty of time to dump lots of oxygen molecules. Repeated sickling of red blood cells damages their cell membranes and promotes premature destruction. Since this happens within the vasculature, it's called intravascular hemolysis. This destruction of red blood cells not only leads to anemia, which is a deficiency in red blood cells, but also means a lot of hemoglobin spilling out. Free hemoglobin in the plasma is bound by a molecule called haptoglobin and gets recycled, which is why a low haptoglobin level is a sign of intravascular hemolysis. Recycling of that heme group yields unconjugated bilirubin.
Issue applied in Ecuador. A 48 years old man with cryptogenic cirrhosis was admitted to the hospital because of Malaysia and progressive jaundice. He was diagnosed of liver cirrhosis 3 years before admission after an episode of varicose bleeding. At admission, the patient had grade hepatic encephalopathy, deep jaundice, and lead edema. Liver function tests were severely impaired. Total bilirubin 23 milligrams unconjugated bilirubin 15 milligrams, albumin 22 grams, prothrombin ratio 25%, and there was a marked anemia. Hemoglobin 70.70 grams with sign of hemolysis, including increases reticulocyte counts 350, high lactate dehydrogenase levels 100 to 91 milligrams, and low haptoglobin levels 0.072 grams. Conclusion. Presence of spur cells in patients with advanced cirrhosis is not always accompanied by Spur-cell anemia. The presence of 5% of Spur-cell or more and/or hemolytic anemia is associated with poor prognosis, and this patient might have to be given priority for liver transplantation. Below 5.
Sometimes stuff happens and the red blood cells acquire an abnormal shape with some projections. We call this echinocytes, also known as Spur-cells. This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, and let's continue talking about hematology. So let's get some etymology out of the way. Echinocytes. Echino comes from a Greek word called echinos, which means a hedgehog, like this one, with spikes. Cyte means cell. Echinocytes, also known as Burn cells, are red blood cells with abnormal membrane. They have small, thorny projections at equal distance. Very important, at equal distance. They are numerous, they are small. Do not confuse that with acanthocytes or spur cells. These have large projections, less numerous, and the interval or the distance between them are variable. Here they are uniform, equal, nice. Here are very variable and haphazard. Echinocytes are reversible, so that's good. But what are the causes of echinocyte? So we have artifacts such as EDTA while preparing the blood, we put it in a test tube, but this blood can coagulate, which is not good, so we put some stuff in it so that it cannot coagulate. This can cause the red blood cell to become like this. Also uremia, this is huge. If you will remember anything from this lecture, remember that uremia has echinocytes in the blood film or the peripheral state. Also pyruvate kinase deficiency, yes, we have discussed this before, and it had echinocytes or Burr cells. Hypophosphatemia, hypomagnesemia, hemolytic anemia, and marathon runners. They run for a long distance, they can get echinocytes in their blood at the end of the race. Echinocytes and acanthocytes together, they are called spiculated cells. Please don't forget, uremia, renal failure, has echinocytes in the blood. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture about one of the spiculated cells called echinocytes or Burr cells. Please consider subscribing. More videos are coming in this week. And please like my page on Facebook. I'm posting many questions and answers there. Alright, I'll see you then.